Finally. Ha ha ha. Do I sound like Count Dracula a little bit? Ah, fa ha ha. 1, 2, 3. I am Count Dracula. No, it's fine. Let me stop. But we are back with another episode of the 1216 Podcast Manga Section Reaction Edition. You know how we get down. It is finally official Viz translation out, which means I can do the chapter 1141, An Older Woman. It's time. Starting off back, we see that Uta is still chained up as Who's Who is now stabbing and repeatedly stomping on Pepe. And it looks like that's one of his members in the corner, probably, it's not Black Maria, but somebody who looks kind of like her in the face. And we see that they're both still chained up with sea prism stones. And as they're chained up, Uti is crying, which means hopefully next time we see the next chapter, which is next week, we're going to get Yamato hopefully breaking through, beating up Who's Who, and freeing Oti and Pepe, or Page 1. Because at this point, they're not beast pirates anymore. They don't even care about the beast pirates. They just want to be, Pepe just wants to live, and Oti just wants to see her brother having fun and free and just care for him to death. So we're going from there. But we jump right into the chapter, and we all know where we left off at. Nami is pissed. There's no diamonds, no pearls, no giant gold ingots, nothing. She came to this enormous castle just for nothing. She don't care about Loki or whatever. And as she says, this road looks at her and says, hey, chill out now, relax. Because they have two giants that are laid out. They brought them back from the castle, of course, because they were beaten up by, I'm assuming it was Shamrock and Gudko. But if it wasn't them, it was somebody else, then that's definitely going to be interesting to see who did it. But we can all assume that it was, they did tell us. Okay, they did tell us. I remember now. They said that it was somebody who looks just like Shanks, which had to be Shamrock regardless. Now they're taking him back to go to the doctors to get treatment, basically. And as we jump around, we get to see the Atom Tree tour, of course, still going on with Franky. And Frank is in this Atom Tree tour where he realizes that some of the branches looks kind of crazy with it and whatnot, and it gets explained that in Elbaph they're all living on the giant tree Atom. And as they live on the giant tree Atom, that means that the branches are all its own clans, basically, or villages is what they call them. And each of the villages they do have out there definitely go on pretty strong. But it was one village that was cut off, and that village is called the Hyugen village, and that branch was cut off because it was struck by lightning. And when it's struck by lightning, it caused fire to start spreading. And of course, at that point in time, you can't do anything about it but connect the branch itself from the tree so the fire doesn't spread through the entire tree and wipe out all of the other villages that's there. And it makes a lot of sense that is one thing that's doing it. But that just goes to show you that one of the biggest vulnerabilities of Elbaph is that they are weak to lightning users. A nail, you can take on all the giants by yourself, and fire users. Sabo, have Ace Alive, Ace, the volcano guy from the Mafia family, I forgot his name. Sakazuki. The list goes on. Like, it's so many fire. Franky can use Franky fire. The list could go on and on and on and on and on. Of people who can basically take out this tree. Oh, even Nami could take out all the giants by herself with a lightning bolt from Zeus, or just heating up the fireballs. Jesus, a lot of people who use fire for real in this show. One of my favorite elements too, fire and lightning too. And I could take on the Elbaph giants and beat them. But we get into it. We have the festival still going on, and Usopp is hammered. I mean, he is drunk beyond all means, which is good though because he's having the time of his life in the place that he's been dreaming of for the longest. And as he talks to Jorul, Jorul is the one who has, of course, the sword stuck inside of his head. They get to talking, going on and on and on about certain things. Usopp is introducing Nami to him, of course, to Jorul, and Jorul does a mistaken thing and calls her a beautiful woman. And Usopp says, "Hey, watching you, old perv. She's the ideal. You know what? What's your ideal type of woman?" And he answers and says, "Oh, my favorite type, huh? I've never thought about that. Probably older women." And Usopp goes, "Ah!" and jumps in the air and smacks the sword that's inside of the king's head. King Jorul's head, smacks the sword and puts him in so much pain and agony that Dory had to snatch him up. And as Usopp was looking around, someone, "Hey, let me at him." Usopp said, "Why don't you shut up, Dory? Like, what's to you?" And he's completely hammered at this point. Usopp is beyond smacked. But Usopp simply just is having a good time. It's not just him by himself, because Brook is also having a good time. Brook is sitting there playing a guitar, headless with it. Of course, he has his skull. I don't know whether or not his skull is detached, and it's hovering around, inside the air. And I wonder if he has it attached to his soul, and his soul is carrying like his actual head around, because there is a black line coming through it, unless that's the design up on his clothes, and he just has his head just detached from him while he's playing the guitar and singing songs. It's one of those things. But as the party's going on and on and on, Sanji gets to worried, and looking around because he sees that Gerd is not there. Gerd, where could you be? In fact, she is talking to Road. She's talking to Road, and Road is simply trying to avoid her by any means necessary, as he brought the patients to her. And Gerd sits there and looks at Road and says, "You're hiding something, aren't you?" Of course not. I'm not hiding anything. As he sits there and tries to cover up because he's sweating bullets. Of course, he loves the fact that Jerry's looking at him, but Road is simply putting himself in a predicament right now, because he knows that if they found out that the Straw Hats, especially Luffy and Zoro, who are nowhere to be found right now, are trying to free Loki, that they may even treat Road as an accomplice and banish him to make him leave the island. But Road is also thinking, on the other hand, it may be good to set him free. With Loki free, he can go ahead and terrorize other countries and leave Elbaph alone. But as he's thinking about this, Gerd hits him inside the head, knocks Road out, and of course he's going to end up probably spilling the beans. But now we jump down low to the underworld, where we see Loki still tied up, bleeding and beating up, as Zoro and Luffy stand in front of him with the key to free him. As he get there, Zoro says, "This is kind of different from what you mentioned, Luffy." And of course it's different, because this is last time Luffy seen him, Gunko and Shamrock was not around. But because Gunko and Shamrock were around, they did some hurting to him. And not just some hurting to him, but Zoro couldn't really believe it. So Zoro had to, I guess, find a proof in the pudding and just make sure that Loki, of course, is not playing possum, if you might say. And what does he do? Because Luffy can't do anything, as he goes up to the Sea Prison Stones and Sea Prison Stone chains that's around Loki, and as soon as he steps foot up on them, he just immediately loses himself and his balance, because he can't do it. Now they're having a conversation, they're going back and forth, and Zoro's like, "You know what? he's a damn giant. And of course, Luffy responds back, a giant is a dying man right here. We need to save him. And Zoro, of course, is saying, that's not my problem. Zoro is going through the exact same thing he went with. You all know that Zoro has trust issues from the beginning. The same way he did with Robin is the same exact way that he's doing right now. Because Loki, the stories that's told about him is that, you know, he's lying, he's conniving, he's Latino, that's what but you know, everything in general is going bad for Loki, and that's pretty much what has to happen. Like, Loki is seen as, you know, a pure evil, and Zoro is sticking back to his guns, understanding that, and it's trying to understand, it's trying to tell Luffy the same thing. But Luffy doesn't care about all of that. Luffy knows that once he sees a man, once he sees somebody inside help, he wants to help them out in general. So what does Zoro do? Zoro goes up to him, kicks him right inside an open wound, just kicks him right in the open wound. And Loki loses his shit. He lets out a giant yell. He's in pain like there's no tomorrow. And then Zoro takes the blood. I don't know if he tastes it, but I know he puts it on his fingers and he's using his 2 fingers looking at it like, maybe this is real blood. And he looks at him and says, okay, Luffy, you're right. And look again, he's like, oh shit. Did he die? Because Loki passes out, puts his head directly down on the ground, and now Zoro is telling Luffy, you know what? I got you, Luffy. I'll free him. Everything except for one ankle cuff, we'll leave that right there, because the Sea Prism Stone, and we don't want him doing anything too crazy. Also, we gotta find a doctor. We can't go get Chopper because Chopper's too far away. And Zoro's like, you know what? The festival has doctors. We can go there and just check them all out. And Luffy's like, whoa. Wait a minute, Zoro. We can't do that because if anybody finds out, they're going to kick us off this country for sure. Well, Zoro tells him that. And Luffy responds, if it happens, it happens. But Zoro's like, you know what? I got to find a doctor for sure. This has to happen. And Luffy's like, you know what? All we need is meat. Meat would be good too as well. Gotta get some. And Zoro looks back at all the animals that are messed up back there and says, what about them? Luffy pissed off. You don't eat your friends, Zoro. You don't eat your friends. Even though they tried to serve. First off, Luffy tried to serve up Chopper on a platter, Kaku, the duck from Alabasta, on a platter as well, and I think he tried to put Starfish guy from Fishman Island there as well and eat him also, but nonetheless, a Papagu. But nonetheless, he stands by his guns. You don't eat your friends. I tried to eat them before we were friends, but you don't eat your friends, all right? And even, I think, and even some of the other ones inside of the movies Luffy has even tried to eat before. But friends, you don't eat them. And as he says that, they hear screaming from the sky, kind of like it's Marine 4, and they're falling from the sky coming down. That was a great and sad, very sad and tragic ending to Ace. But look up, and it's the new giant pirates. Hiroden and his crew are coming down. Hiroden, Road, Gerd, the rest of the whole crew are all falling down, and they're literally falling to their deaths because now there's nothing to stop them from hitting the ground, and they all think, you know what? It's over for us. Finally, we're finally done. It's over with for us. And then all you hear is "Gum Gum Balloon," and that giant balloon pops up and saves all of them. They hit Luffy's stomach, throw him aside the air, then they fall right on the head and got, severely injured. But it's better than ultimately having death come knock at your door immediately. And they just look over them and they say, "Hey, Luffy, what are you doing right now? Like this guy is all kinds of trouble. You can't be down here in the underworld." Like, you don't want to be involved or wrapped up around this guy in general. He's bad news. Loki should not be freed. And Zoro just simply looks at them and says, well, too late for that, huh? And arise he shall. Loki, in full-on form, stands up. A giant. Even bigger than Oars himself. He stands right up, bloody and beaten, with one cuff on still, as he reaches over and grabs his Ragnir, which is like his giant hammer, his version of his mirror. He grabs over and grabs his Ragnir, and simply is about to do the unspeakable. Possibly. Because the chapter ends right there. So in my mind, I'm thinking, of course, he's looking for, definitely for one, Shanks, but two, he's trying to get back against Shamrock, and of course against Gunko. Because Loki is finally up. People thought he was passed out. No, he's just fine. He's up and live and kicking it right now, and we're finally going to see Loki in action next week. There is no break again. There will not be a break, hopefully, for a long time. Ichiro Oda, you are dropping banger after banger after banger, and now we have our punk rock star Loki risen up from his shackles. And I know that's one good hell of a stretch he has to do. Knees, get them back inside shape, all you want to do, you feel me? But hey, Loki, he's here. And it's go time. Even though he does have that one sleepers and stuff on cuff on still, he still has the strength to stand up, bloody and beaten, and is ready to do some damage to Shamrock and the other Holy Knights. We didn't get too much into the Holy Knights inside this chapter, which I'm cool with. I wish we would have got a little bit more, especially since we just got introduced to two new ones, Summer and Kiringham. But hopefully we will see them soon, because Loki's trying to get back, and then we all know that game is going on, or is going to begin at the Warrior School. So next chapter is going to be interesting. There's a lot of different ways that they can play about and just see, which way they want to go and flex down. But stay tuned. This is 12, of course, Twisting the Podcast, bringing you another mega banger. And make sure you guys do me a favor, all right? Comment down below. You can like it, you can subscribe, you can turn the notification bell on, but comment down below. We want to talk to the community. We want to talk to our grand fleet. Whether I'm dropping something, 16 dropping something, or we're dropping some shit together. We want to know your honest, true reactions behind everything that we're doing. So we can have more conversations, be more interactive. We're coming up, man, on 400 and for our follow goals, but it's a slow grind, but it's grinding still. See you next time. This is 12, officially signing off.